One more. Let's all get up and dance to a song. It was a hit before your mother was born, and she was born a long, long time ago. Your mother should know. Your mother should know. Sing it again. Let's all get up and dance to a song. It was a hit before your mother was born, and she was born a long, long time ago. Your mother should know. Your mother should know. Lift up your hearts and sing it a song. It was a hit before your mother was born, and she was born a long, long time ago. Your mother should know. Your mother should know. Your mother should know. Your mother should know. Sing it again. Da 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 da. And she was born a long, long time ago. Your mother should know. 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 Your mother should know, yeah.
Boa noite, diretamente de Londres. Good evening, everybody. Tonight is a very special live. We're going to be doing an interview with the lovely Leslie Cavendish, the Beatles hairdresser in the 60s. And it's such a pleasure to have him joining us tonight. And we're going to be doing this interview half in English and half in Portuguese for all the Brazilian fans to be able to watch it too. So, então, hoje à noite nós vamos fazer uma entrevista com o queridíssimo Leslie Cavendish, que foi, na verdade, o cabeleireiro dos Beatles na época dos anos 60. Ele acabou ficando amigo, parceiro dos Beatles e acabou sendo convidado para fazer também o filme Magical Mystery, fazer parte do show Magical Mystery Tour. Então ele tem muitas histórias bacanas para contar pra gente hoje à noite. E junto comigo hoje eu estou com o Sandro Trindade, da banda Parlophone B7. Sandro, você tá aqui com a gente?
Hurry up for the Magical Mystery Tour. Step right this way.
E aí,
Hurry up.
Sandro? Boa
Oi,
noite.
pessoal.
Quer dizer,
Boa tarde para mim.
Boa tarde
Boa
para você.
noite. Good evening.
Preparado? Preparado para essa live?
Até fiz um...
A gente quer fazer assim uma boa impressão pro Leslie. Eu tentei fazer uns cachos no meu cabelo, mas já caiu. Então eu tô assim meio nervosa.
Diz pro Leslie que isso aqui não deu para tirar, pintou, mas saiu com a água. Daí não.
A gente precisa fazer um appointment com ele, né?
Boa noite a todos, então. É isso aí. E Audrey Coppen vai mediar a nossa live como de praxe. Tem mais gente que vai participar da live, né, Audrey?
Sim, nós temos nosso amigo André Katz, que também vai fazer a parte da...
Tocou, né? Um pouco.
Tocou agora há pouco com a gente, vai provavelmente tocar mais uma música pra gente depois, e o Sandro também, então vai ser bem interessante. We're gonna have our friends tonight. We just had André Katz playing Your Mother Should Know, and then later on we're gonna have Sandro playing another song. It's a bit of a surprise, it's a bit of a mystery actually. And so yeah, are you ready? Você está pronto?
Já? Vamos lá então.
Vamos nessa.
Vamos nessa. Já tá saindo tocando então. Só deixa eu pegar meu baixo ali, tá?
Ah, não, vamos nessa, vamos chamar o Leslie.
Ah, vai chamar o Leslie? Eu cheguei pra tocar, então vamos lá.
Não,
eu saio e chamo ele.
Leslie. Tá bom.
Então tá.
Até mais. Now we're gonna have the lovely Leslie joining us.
Buonanotte, good evening from London.
Hello.
Hi, Audrey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure. Look forward to it.
It is our pleasure to have you sharing amazing stories, and I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm truly excited. So let's begin the begin. So how did it all start? How did you get to know the Beatles? Just one second, just gonna repeat that in Portuguese. Eu perguntei pro Leslie agora como é que tudo começou, como é que ele conheceu os Beatles. Leslie, with you.
Okay, so basically I left school. I wanted to be a footballer, just like the Brazilians. And unfortunately I wasn't good enough. So at 15 years old, I went to pick my mother up from a hairdressing salon. And I saw this one man with surrounded by about 6 or 7 women. And I thought, what a nice way to start a job, to go in. And you have these lovely ladies all around you. That's a nice environment.
Yes.
And a friend of mine mentioned Vidal Sassoon, who happened to be the trendiest hairdresser just starting on this new revolution of hair. And I got into work as an apprentice at Vidal's. And
wow.
From there, you started meeting people who are famous and who are not sort of really early in the morning, and you sort of watch them come from sort of an uncut version to a staged version, and you started thinking to yourself how you can do their hair and do this product. And in between all that, Jane Asher, who was Paul McCartney's girlfriend and fiance, came in. I used to wash her hair. She was really lovely. She had hair exactly like yours, but thick red hair. And through a long story of luck, my hairdresser, the guy that taught me, a guy called Roger Thompson, couldn't do her hair one day, and on 3 occasions he didn't do it. And they asked me to do it, and suddenly, when I finished her hair on that second occasion, she said to me, Leslie, what are you doing this afternoon? I was going to a football match, and she said, could you come round and wait for it? Can you cut my boyfriend's hair? And I said, wow, and I knew who her boyfriend was. She never spoke about it. I asked her where she lived, and she said, I live in Cavendish Avenue. I said, that's really strange, Jane. That's my surname.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up going to Paul McCartney's house. And from there, the other 3 came through the door.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating, Leslie. Just bear with me one second. Just going to try and translate everything that you just told me. O Leslie me contou que ele gostaria de ser jogador de futebol. Essa era a profissão que ele tinha em mente. Mas como isso acabou não acontecendo, ele falou, não, então eu preciso de uma outra profissão. E aí ele foi buscar, num belo dia, a mãe dele num cabeleireiro. Ele foi encontrar com a mãe dele, e daí ele viu a mãe dele ali sentada, com um monte de mulherada, e um cara ali cortando o cabelo de todo mundo. E ele achou, assim, fantástico aquilo lá. Ele falou, nossa, que legal, né? Tem aí esse cara cortando o cabelo dessas mulheres maravilhosas. E daí ele pensou em ser cabeleireiro. E alguém, acho que a conhecida da mãe dele, falou que tinha um salão muito bacana, que estava precisando de um aprendiz. E que ele foi e passou na mesma hora e começou a cortar o cabelo do pessoal. E que esse salão acabou ficando bem famoso e que acabou sendo frequentado por muitas celebridades. E que uma dessas celebridades foi a Jane Asher. E que o cabeleireiro, que era o mais famoso, aquele cabeleireiro top, ele, em algumas ocasiões, não conseguiu atender a Jane Asher, então ele pediu para o Leslie. O Leslie, na verdade, ele só secava o cabelo da Jane. Mas nesse dia, ele acabou fazendo tudo. Ele acabou fazendo a lavagem, acabou fazendo a escova. E daí, na segunda vez que ela foi de novo e que o cabeleireiro top não pôde atendê-la, ele tornou a pedir para o Leslie. E nessas, ela falou para o Leslie, Leslie, você pode passar hoje lá na minha casa para cortar o cabelo do meu namorado? E ele falou que naquele dia ele tinha uma partida de jogo para ir assistir, e ele ficou naquela coisa, naquele impasse, e aí ele perguntou, mas que horas? E ela falou, mais pro fim da tarde. Ele falou, vou sim, porque ele tinha o jogo para assistir. Então ele acabou assistindo o jogo e depois ele foi cortar o cabelo do Paul. Agora eu vou perguntar para ele como que foi cortar o cabelo do Paul McCartney, como que ele se sentiu, se ele estava nervoso. Okay, Leslie, I think I've just translated just about everything that you told me very quickly.
Very good.
And
Well,
now,
perfect.
oh bless. And now I'm going to ask you, how did you feel? What was it like to go to Paul McCartney's house and just do his hair? I mean, what was it like? Tell me everything.
It was. Don't forget, I was a Beatle fan. I still am, but I was a Beatle fan at the time. And when I was asked to go around that evening, early evening, I realised I was going around to somebody that my actually sister's picture. She used to put Paul McCartney was her favourite. Everyone had their favourites, and I used to see Paul McCartney on her bedroom window. And,
yeah.
I used to think, my God, I'm actually going around to see him, to see this man. So I had to be quite professional outwardly, but inwardly I was a bit nervous. So I turned up at the door at Cavendish Avenue.
Yes.
And I saw these girls outside, about 4 or 5 girls outside, who are known lately as the George Harrison wrote a song called The Apple Scruffs.
Yes.
And they sort of know everybody that goes in, and I pressed the doorbell. And the housekeeper said, oh, Mr. McCartney's expecting you. So I said, okay. Went in the front door. The first thing I saw on the left, I'll actually just show you, I saw a green Aston Martin.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I thought to myself, the only person that has an Aston Martin is James Bond.
Yes.
So when I got to the door, I sort of took a deep breath and waiting for the housekeeper to make me go into the front room and wait for Mr. McCartney. And as I pressed the bell, there was Mr. McCartney. He came in and hello, James told me all about you. Please come in, have a sit down. Would you like some tea? I said, no sugar, please. And we sat down and I felt like I was in someone's front room.
Oh, wow.
Remember all that?
I think I read somewhere that when he opened the door, he said to you, my girlfriend told me you're coming to cut me barnet or something.
Barnet Fair, it's a good old Cockney saying. Barnet Fair, hair. Yes, yeah. He did. You know, he's from Liverpool. You know, so that's he picked up on the Cockney sound. Yes, it was quite amazing because it wasn't like he came to the salon. I'm sitting in his front room. I've got guitars all over the places. They had the old cassettes sitting there, music there, and having tea with Paul McCartney. I felt like I won the lottery.
And how old were you?
I was just turned 19.
Oh, wow. That must have been amazing.
Nearly
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. Okay, just bear with me. I'm just going to translate again. Então, gente, o Leslie me falou que quando a Jane Asher passou para ele, esqueci de contar isso, ele me falou na outra, ele me respondeu isso na outra pergunta que eu tinha feito, eu esqueci de falar. Ela passou o endereço para ele e já era na rua Cavendish. E ele achou engraçado, porque o sobrenome dele é Cavendish também. E a Jane Asher falou para ele, deve ser o destino, tá vendo? É para você ir lá mesmo cortar o cabelo do meu namorado hoje. E que quando ele chegou lá, ele já tinha umas 5 meninas ali do lado de fora da casa do Paul. E ele chegou, viu ali um Aston Martin, esse carro que ele acabou de mostrar a foto, que na época quem tinha aquele carro era só os filmes do James Bond. Então ele achou aquilo muito legal, né? Então quando ele apertou a campainha, ele esperou que a empregada fosse atender e esperar, e pedir para ele esperar pelo Paul McCartney na sala, tudo de uma forma muito oficial. E que quando ele tocou a campainha, ele ficou muito surpreso, porque o Paul McCartney atendeu e disse, oi, minha namorada me falou que você vem aqui cortar minha cabeleira. E ele falou isso, e ele já se sentiu assim, mais relaxado, já se sentiu mais em casa. E que daí ele entrou na casa do Paul, o Paul perguntou se ele queria tomar chá. Ele disse sim, por favor, sem açúcar. E que ele entrou assim na casa, entrou na sala, tinha assim as guitarras pelo chão, e ele assim, entre as guitarras e tudo mais, já foi pedindo para o Paul se sentar, e aí foi feito o corte de cabelo. Muito, muito legal, muito fantástico. Leslie, I have a friend of mine that actually she asked this question. She asks if, did you get to keep any of the Beatles' hair locks?
The answer actually is no. The reason being is that one of the things that we learned from at Vidal's was always to respect the person. That always remember that it's a client. You know, you may be friendly, you may laugh and joke, but at the end of the day, they're a client. Now, I'm doing a very, very important client. As far as I can't get any higher than doing someone's, on a men's hair. You do the Beatles or Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to sort of be a one-cut wonder, as they say. I didn't want to be one of those people to say, I once cut Paul McCartney's hair. Yeah. I wanted actually, I keep using the term, I wanted to make an album. So I wanted to cut all the Beatles' hair. And the best way to do that is to keep quiet, stay loyal, not asking for autographs, don't take the hair. Yes, there was plenty of opportunities to take a lot of hair. I probably could have asked him for his autograph. I did actually on one occasion, which I may tell you about later. But I never bothered him because this is his home. They want to relax. It was just when they finished Candlestick Park, which happens to be today, Audrey, the anniversary on the 29th of August, 1966. The Beatles played their very last concert on this day. So,
wow!
Right. So from that day on, the Beatles didn't go live. So I didn't want to ask it. So to tell the long story to your friend, no, I didn't cut. I didn't keep any of the hair. I didn't want to be seen, picking up hair because, it just wouldn't. And the thing is that I was accepted in that inner circle because I could be trusted. I watched them record, I watched them argue. So you keep, and they're a client. So no hair, I'm afraid.
So it was really cool of you, and it was very professional of you too. And win-win situation. And I love the fact that when I see video footages of you, you just look so calm and collected. You just look part of, you're happy to be there. It's just fantastic. I love that. So I'm just gonna reply to my friends. Eu perguntei pro Leslie. Talma.
Talma. Okay,
Talma.
Okay, Talma.
Eu perguntei para o Leslie, eu tenho uma pergunta da minha amiga Talma Lennon, se ele chegou a guardar algum cabelo dos Beatles. E ele me disse que não, porque, primeiramente, quando ele começou a ser cabeleireiro, a primeira coisa que ensinaram para ele é que ser profissional é acima de tudo e que não é legal você desrespeitar o cliente, começar a pegar cabelo, começar a querer cortar o cabelo da pessoa sem perguntar o que a pessoa acha. Então, tem essa parte, esse lado profissional. E também porque ele pensou, se eu começar a me dar uma de doido aqui, eles não vão querer contato comigo porque vão me achar desses fãs meio malucos e tal. Então, se eu me mantiver calmo, né, não pedir autógrafo, fazer o meu trabalho aqui, vão ter outras oportunidades de eu tornar a cortar o cabelo dele, né, no caso do Paul McCartney, naquele dia foi o que ele pensou. Se eu ficar aqui calminho, não pedir autógrafo, ficar na minha, vão ter outras oportunidades de eu voltar a cortar o cabelo do Paul, ou talvez dos outros Beatles, e foi exatamente isso que aconteceu. Então, a resposta é não. Ele não guardou nenhum cabelo de nenhum dos Beatles. Right, next question. A próxima pergunta que eu vou fazer para ele é se os Beatles sugeriram algum tipo de cabelo para ele, algum tipo de corte de cabelo, ou se ele chegou a sugerir algum tipo de corte para os Beatles. Okay, Leslie, so did you ever suggested some hairstyles to the Beatles, or did they ever requested a specific haircut to you?
Okay, so good question. The Beatles never ever, in all the time I was there, ever said to me, I want my hair like this, I want it styled like this. It was always, I leave it to you. I was also, if you see, my hair was very similar as well. You know, we all had long hair, we all had good hair. I must say, very lucky, but we all got good hair.
That was my next question. That was my next question to you. I was going to say, during the Magical Mystery Tour era, you had a very similar hairstyle. So you had like the sideburns and sort of shorter but longer at the same time. So I was going to say, did you inspire them to have that haircut, or did they inspire you?
They probably inspired me, if I'm really honest. So I'd like to say the other way around, but no. That was the fashion at the time. But on one occasion, well, I say on one occasion, the second occasion I was round at Paul McCartney's, my conversation with him would be, how is Jane? And yes, there we are. We both got the same haircut. There you go.
Very similar.
Anyway, he said to me, no, I haven't seen Jane for a while because she's filming. And I said, are you going to go down and see her film? And he said, no, I can't do that because the Beatles, they always ask me about the Beatles when we're going to get back together again. I said, okay. So I said, when she finished filming, you're going to go, I suppose you'll go on holiday with her. And he said, no, had the same problem. You know, the press are everywhere. And while I was cutting his hair, I just said to him, that's a shame. Why did you go in disguise? And he said, how? And I said, now don't forget, we showed him pictures of what Paul McCartney's hair looked like. Okay. And I said, why don't I cut your hair that short? And I said it sort of in tongue-in-cheek. And he said to me, go on then, do it. So I cut his hair really short. And the next thing I knew, I got a bit scared thinking, wow, I've made a Beatle skinhead.
Yeah.
And, but there, I'll just do a quick one there. But if you can see that, that's me with a beard, by the way.
Oh, wow, yes.
Okay. So the press suddenly, 3 weeks later, turned round and said, wow, how did you go on holiday? And I said, and he said, I went away and I saw these things of making Paul a skinhead. And he ended up looking like this.
Wow, that is like super short.
Yeah, and he had a moustache as well. And, you know, it all got, we've got that one there, perfect.
Yeah.
You know, that was a hairstyle that was actually really good because what it did was he ended up going to Nairobi. He came back on that flight and he had a great holiday, thanks to me.
Wow, fantastic. Just gonna translate that again. Então, gente, o Leslie me contou agora, eu perguntei para ele se os Beatles tinham pedido algum tipo de corte de cabelo e tal. E eu também perguntei para ele se porque naquela época o cabelo dele, do Leslie, era muito parecido com o cabelo dos Beatles. Então eu perguntei quem que inspirou quem, né? Porque olha só como era bem parecido, né? As costeletas maiores, né? Olha só que parecido que era. Aí eu perguntei, quem que inspirou? Foi você que inspirou os Beatles, esse cabelo, ou foram eles que te inspiraram? Ele falou que foi os Beatles que inspiraram ele. Embora ele gostaria de dizer que foi o oposto. Mas que a única vez que ele sugeriu alguma coisa foi quando o Paul comentou com ele que ele ia de férias, ele ia fazer um safari, e aí o Leslie perguntou, você vai com a Jane? Ele falou, não, eu não posso ir com a Jane porque a gente chama muita atenção. Aliás, eu não sei nem como é que eu vou, porque as pessoas, né, acabam vindo muito em cima de mim e eu acabo não aproveitando as minhas viagens. Aí o Leslie sugeriu, falou, por que você não se disfarça? Aí o Paul falou, mas como que eu vou me disfarçar? Ele falou, cortando o cabelo, e ele falou assim, tipo, meio que de brincadeira. Falou, eu te corto o cabelo quase careca, assim, bem Joãozinho, bem raspadinho. E daí o Paul falou, então vai, vamos nessa, corta aí meu cabelo. E daí ele cortou o cabelo do Paul bem raspado, bem raspado. Saiu até uma notícia no jornal depois falando que ele era o responsável pelo corte quase Joãozinho, né, do Paul McCartney, e ele fez ainda um bigode, então ele ficou quase que irreconhecível. E aí o Leslie brinca falando que o Paul acabou tendo uma ótima viagem graças a ele, que sugeriu esse corte de cabelo. Right, so now tell me, Leslie, how did you get to know the other Beatles and how did you get invited to the Magical Mystery Tour?
So the other two, the Apple, when Beatles formed Apple, it started off originally very early days at the Apple Boutique in Baker Street, where they just had an upstairs office.
Yes.
And then it moved on to an office in Wigmore Street. And there they had a press officer called Derek Taylor, who they knew because he was somebody from Manchester, in up north in England. He was a journalist for one of the big newspapers. He then went to Los Angeles and started being the press agent for the Beach Boys and all the big guys, the Grateful Dead, you name it out there. He was, Derek Taylor was the PR man and very well liked, trusted, very well trusted. And the Beatles brought him over. So when I was cut Paul's hair, Derek knew about it. And I used to go, Derek said, could you come over to the office and cut my hair? So while I was there, I cut Derek's hair. It was like a madhouse up there. They were drinking vodka and tonics 9 o'clock in the morning. And then suddenly the Beatles are going to their office. And on occasion, John Lennon came upstairs and when all three Beatles went into Apple, Paul used to walk in, he was hi everybody, and Ringo was peace and love, and everyone was happy that Ringo was there. George just floated through on another world. And but when John came in, it was a bit like the headmaster came in, and everyone sort of stood up straight. And they walked through, said good morning to Derek, and looked at me, who I was next to Derek, and said, "Who's he?" And he said, "Oh, that's Leslie's, Paul's barber." He said, "Well, tell him to come in and cut my hair." So I went into the boardroom and cut John Lennon's hair. The same thing happened with George. And I got George's hair through Peter Asher, Jane's brother. And he was the A&R guy there. So George came in. But Ringo's wife, Maureen, lovely lady, was a hairdresser. So I used to talk about hairdressing. So I didn't cut Ringo's hair too much. I did it for a film. I used to blow dry his hair a lot, but I cut it a few times, but not that much. But that's how the four of them that's how I got to do it. And then with that, I don't know if you want to translate that first.
Yeah. What's Derek's surname?
Derek Taylor.
Oh, Derek Taylor, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about another Derek. I didn't catch that. Yeah, okay, perfect. So, just gonna translate that. Ele estava me contando que quando ele cortou o cabelo do Paul, o Derek Taylor se interessou e falou para ele, já que você tem um cabeleireiro que vai até você e corta o seu cabelo, chama ele lá no nosso escritório para cortar o meu cabelo também. Então, ele foi um belo dia lá no escritório cortar o cabelo do Derek. E nisso, ele estava contando que quando chegavam os outros Beatles no escritório, era uma coisa assim, um ambiente bem relaxado e tudo mais, né? As secretárias, né? Chegava o Paul, todo mundo, oi Paul, oi Ringo, né? Oi George. Só que quando chegava o John, ficava todo mundo meio assim, sabe? Olha, chegou o chefão. E que até ele acabou ficando nervoso, porque ele viu todo mundo ali, né ficando com postura certinha e tal, e chega o John Lennon e vira pro Derek e fala, quem é esse aí? Aí o Derek falou, o cabeleireiro do Paul. Aí ele falou, então pede para ele cortar já meu cabelo, tô precisando de um corte de cabelo. E que daí eles já foram lá numa sala de reuniões e ele cortou o cabelo do John Lennon. E ele disse que ele cortou o cabelo do George algumas vezes, mas que o do Ringo foram poucas as vezes. Olha a foto dele cortando o cabelo do George. Esse é o George. E que o Ringo, ele cortou o cabelo poucas vezes porque a esposa, Maureen, ela era cabeleireira. Então, foram poucas as vezes. Acho que ele cortou só para o filme, para o Magical Mystery Tour, e algumas outras ocasiões que ele precisava realmente de um corte mais profissional. Eu vou perguntar agora para o Leslie como foi o envolvimento dele com o Magical Mystery Tour. Perfect. So, Leslie, can you tell us about Magical Mystery Tour?
Okay, so Paul was recording a lot at his house. I used to go around there. It was so nice, actually, because it's not like he came into a salon where it would be he would be in front of the mirror and we would talk, and then the next client would come in about an hour later. So I used to sit with him there, and Brian Epstein had died in 1967, August, August, I think, or September. Someone will say it's whatever date it was. So it was they were in a mourning situation where I thought, whatever's going to happen, nothing's going to happen. And while I was there, he just said to me, he said, what are you doing next week? And I said, why is that? And he said, well, what we're doing, we've got a coach and we're going to go on this trip. There's going to be just sort of a coach full of people, and we'd like you to join us. And I'm thinking, hold on, Brian Epstein's only been dead 2 weeks, but they're going out. But Paul is one of those people which is really good, actually. You can't, it's a bit, I know it sounds silly, but the king is dead, long live the king, let's get on with it. And Paul was always the Beatle, whatever happens, he's the conductor of the Beatles. And said that, come along and meet us, come along and you can be part of the crew and you can blow dry our hair at the same time, whatever. So can you imagine, a thought, what are you doing? Oh, I'm busy, can't do anything. Of course I'm not busy. I was busy, I was working at Sassoon's and I had to try to get out of it. And I made some excuse up. My mother made a good excuse up. And I met Paul on that day, I think it was September the 11th, met him early morning. And there I was. Paul McCartney lived in London, so he was the first Beatle on the coach, which turned up about 2 hours late. And then we went down to Weybridge, where the other 3 Beatles lived, and then picked them up. And there I was sitting on a coach with the 4 Beatles and the road managers and a client of mine, Shirley Evans, that you'll see. She's the one that plays the accordion. And there we were, and watching Paul, and Paul was really with the director on this coach. I must say, when the coach turned up, no one knew what the coach would look like, and suddenly a very subtle coach turned up.
Psychedelic, yeah.
That no one would ever know that the Beatles were in it. So, yeah, we spent a week going down to Cornwall and just watching the Beatles work together and their humour. Sitting behind John Lennon a lot of the time, and George Harrison and Ringo. You couldn't get a more front view. That was it. That was the best seat in the house.
Because you were so young at the time, and obviously you were a Beatles fan, did it get to your head a little bit? How did you register everything that was happening at the time?
Okay, I'll tell you why. You've got to compliment the Beatles on that, because they never really acted like I am a Beatle. They weren't the sort of the Jay-Z's of the world. They're not those people. Maybe today they would have to have that entourage around them, but the entourage they had was Mel Evans and Neil Aspinall. They were the road managers, come bouncers, come whatever, and they made you feel relaxed. They were never sort of click their fingers or get me this, get me that. Never ever did I see that. So you felt comfortable. And I'm quite a laid back guy, so that suited me. I mean, when I want to be on the ball, I can be, but being around them and watching them, and it just seemed like a group of friends just going away. Nice.
Fabulous, fabulous. Right, I'm just going to translate that very quickly. Então, Leslie estava me contando que logo após a morte do Brian Epstein, ele foi cortar o cabelo do Paul e ficou meio que aquele climão, ele não sabia se ele mencionava alguma coisa ou não. E daí, o Paul, sendo Paul McCartney, ele é o Beatle, né? Ele falou para mim, o Paul é o cara, ele é o Beatle. Então, quando tem algum problema, o Paul é o primeiro que se ergue, se levanta e vai fazer as coisas. Então, ele disse que o Paul virou para ele e falou assim, a gente vai fazer uma tour aí, um projeto, um filme, uma coisa na semana que vem, você tá ocupado? Aí ele falou, você acha que mesmo que eu tivesse ocupado, o que eu estava na época, eu tinha muito cliente, já atendendo muito cliente, eu ia virar pro Paul McCartney e falar, tô, viu, não posso. É lógico que não. Então ele falou que a mãe dele deu uma desculpa pro cabeleireiro lá, pro chefe dele lá no salão, e que ele acabou encontrando com o Paul McCartney no dia 11 de setembro, E ele falou que foi assim a coisa mais fascinante, porque ninguém fazia ideia do que ia acontecer. O Paul só deu um endereço para ele, ele chegou naquele endereço em Londres e chega aquele ônibus todo psicodélico, escrito Magical Mystery Tour, tal. E daí diz que ele entrou, o Paul também. E daí o ônibus foi para Weybridge, que é a área onde os 2 outros Beatles moravam na época, né? O George e o Ringo, o George e o John, desculpa. E o Ringo também, eu acho que encontrou com eles no meio do caminho. E que daí foi, assim, incrível. Eu perguntei para ele se ele, sendo tão jovem, sendo fã de Beatles, se isso mexeu com a cabeça dele, né? Se ele precisou se beliscar que aquilo estava acontecendo. Ele falou que, na verdade, os Beatles sempre trataram ele com tanto respeito. Ninguém falou, oi, você aí, faz tal coisa para mim. Não, nunca. Sempre trataram ele como um amigo. E que ele se sentiu indo, assim, viajar com um grupo de amigos. Olha só que bacana. Então agora deixa eu ver aqui que eu tenho algumas perguntas para fazer, mas eu acho que primeiro eu vou chamar o Sandro para tocar uma música pra gente. Okay, Leslie, I'm going to ask Sandro to come on and sing a song for us. If
Lovely.
That's okay with you.
Look forward to it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
E aí,
Ok,
Sandroco?
então. Vou pegar o baixo aqui.
Perfeito, estamos te esperando.
Ok, então vamos fazer uma homenagem ao filme que o Leslie participou, que se chama Magical Mystery Tour, que dá nome a essa canção que eu vou interpretar agora como homenagem ao filme e a participação dele no Magical Mystery Tour. Som. Ok.
Everyone's way. I'm up for the mystery tour. I'm up for the mystery tour. And that's an invitation to make a reservation. Magical mystery tour is waiting to take it away. Take it away. I'm up for the mystery tour. I'm up for the mystery tour. We got it easy. Satisfaction guaranteed. Magical mystery tour. It's coming to take it away.
Thank you, Leslie. Obrigado, Audrey. Obrigado a todos. Valeu. Estamos na sequência aí.
Right, so we are back. We're back. Did you like that? Did you enjoy that?
I thought it was really good. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Sandra.
I thought it was great, especially with the bass. I think I never paid attention to the bass before on that song.
Nice.
And you could really, really clearly hear it tonight. So that was quite cool. Right, Leslie, how did you watch the movie when it was broadcasted on Boxing Day of that year? Did you do anything special? Did you have your family and friends watching with you? Did you have like special celebration?
It wasn't a special celebration, but as you know, it's the day after Christmas. It was a family gathering that we all sat around. I did sort of say, this is what I've been doing for a week, with going with the Beatles there. And I was trying to explain, especially to my aunts and my cousins, who all sort of lived in one. We had two houses, all sort of in one. And, they're all Beatles fans. I was telling them, it's really great. And the bus was yellow and Magical Mystery Tour. Everything was colourful and this and that. I'm telling them everything. And we sat down and watched it. And it comes in black and white.
Oh.
And what they did, they didn't put it out in colour. They also put it out at a time in the afternoon. So everybody sits around and has lunch and drink, and then you have a great big lunch, and all you want to do is sit down in the settee, and a lot of people just fall asleep. So the timing was completely wrong. It should have. It was a bit of a squid, not to me, but to the British public, and it didn't get very good reception at all, actually. So everything, there were 20 million people watching it because there were only two channels. We sort of had the BBC, which is the National Broadcasting Corporation, and you had the independent one. So if the audience was there, but the timing was wrong, and and then the fish and chips scene, which I was telling them all about. I said, yes, we went to the fish and chip shop, and I'm telling them everything that happened there. Never saw it. It was cut out. So I'm trying to pick out, I'm going every minute on the coach or wherever I can see myself, because obviously I know where I am. I'm going, that's me, that's me, that's me. And every time I said it's me, I'm gone. They didn't really, they didn't crack open a bottle of champagne like I expected to at home, but never mind.
Yeah. And were you allowed to tell people about the movie when you got back from the trip?
Again, I kept very quiet about it. The only thing though was the press did follow us, so it wasn't a national secret.
Mm-hmm.
I had the press. You asked me before, did I keep any of the Beatles' hair? Well, I had loads of press offering me quite a lot of money to say if I had any gossip. What's the gossip? What went on? Did they take drugs? Did they do this? And never said a word. I just said I was on the coach, and a good time was had by all. Just kept it. It was all in my head, and I never really put it down, except 50 years later, as you will talk about it later in my book. So that was the situation there.
Okay, fab. Right, just gonna translate that now. Então, Leslie, eu perguntei pro Leslie se no dia que o filme no dia que passaram o filme na televisão, foi televisionado, foi o dia depois do Natal, no dia 26 de dezembro daquele mesmo ano. Então, eu perguntei se ele podia falar para as pessoas sobre o filme. Quando ele voltou dessa viagem, ele falou que, na verdade, não era um grande mistério, porque tinha jornalistas seguindo eles por tudo quanto é lugar durante a viagem, e que muitos jornalistas ofereceram muito dinheiro para ele contar os podres, mas e aí? Eles tomavam drogas, eles ficaram muito loucos durante o filme e tal, e que é lógico que ele não ia vender os Beatles para os jornalistas, então ele nunca aceitou nada disso. E que ele conta que ele tinha contado para as tias dele, ele falou que como era o dia depois do Natal, então ele tinha familiares em casa, né? Porque aqui é tradição, a gente faz o almoço, né? Então todo mundo se reúne. Então ele teve a sorte de ter todos os familiares dele junto com ele naquele dia que foi televisionado o filme, e que ele estava contando para os familiares, olha, vocês vão me ver na loja de fish and chips, né, no restaurante onde a gente vai comer o peixe com as batatas fritas, e o ônibus é amarelo, e é todo colorido, isso e aquilo, e que na hora que foram passar o filme, foi em preto e branco. E é que ele falou, nossa, mas que porcaria, né? Tudo era tão bonito, vão passar o filme em preto e branco. E que o horário que passaram no filme, mesmo sendo televisionado pela BBC e tendo muita gente assistindo o filme naquele dia, como foi passado no final da tarde, diz que, né, as pessoas acabam bebendo um drink e outro já estavam cansados e alguns dormiram durante o filme, então não foi como ele esperava a recepção desse filme. Ele falou assim, não, né, as pessoas acabaram não assistindo ele, não aceitando o filme como eu achei que fossem aceitar, principalmente os críticos, e que ninguém estourou champanhe na casa dele para comemorar. Então foi essa a minha pergunta e essa foi a resposta do Leslie. Agora eu vou perguntar sobre a menininha, aquela menininha, né, do cabelinho curtinho, que ele aparece muitas vezes com ela. Olha só ela. We're talking about little Nicola now, Leslie.
Little Nicky.
Yes, it looks like you formed a special bond with her during the film. You're always with little Nicola, and what was it like when you met her? You met her a few years ago. Did she remember you?
Well, it's quite amazing actually, because we met up in Chicago at a Beatle convention 2 years ago, and there she was, this lovely lady, Nicola Howe. She's 50. She was 6 then. I think 50 years later, she's grown up a bit, but she's known as Little Nicky. And if you listen to the song when John Lennon sings "I Am a Walrus," she says, "No, you're not." So she's known as the girl as "No, you're not the walrus." And yeah, we had a great reunion. We went out for dinner, the four of us, and we talked about the old times. Obviously, I asked her if she could remember. She's only 6. Her mother who brought her there, and for some reason, I was sitting there. I don't quite know how it worked out, but I was suddenly she was put on my knee. And I was sort of looking after her, and it was my job to look after this girl. And they used to place her. If you notice a lot of those scenes, we were behind John Lennon a lot, who wore a hat with a feather. And, little girls or even little boys, she was pulling the feather there. And when he was falling asleep like this, she would sort of go, wake up. And he used to say to me, control that little girl, Leslie, control her. But the funny thing is, we become very friends. And last week we did we did an interview. She lives in Chicago, and we become very good friends. And it's so lovely to see her and talk about these things. And a lot of those pictures that you're showing, try to get into what was it like. And she's gone sort of a Beatle therapy, going back all those years and thinking what it was about. And it was just quite amazing. It's also as well that the coach had 43 people on the coach. There's Paul McCartney, there's Ringo Starr, there's Little Nicky, there's me, and there's one other lovely lady called Jenny, and we're the only ones alive. So,
wow.
It's great to meet up with her. So, and see those pictures and see her smiling. She's still got a lovely smile, so she's lovely.
Now, does she have any memories of the movie?
She told me, I asked her that last week, or somebody else asked her that, and she does remember it. She remembers, obviously, the fish and chip scene was actually her grandparents' fish and chip shop. So they, obviously all, like I did, sat and watched it on Boxing Day. Also, she must have got a bit disappointed, but she's in the movie a hell of a lot. If you just go through the clips, you'll see her, and she's everywhere. And I'm always next to her, so I'm really known. When we go out on the road together, we're going to go as Little Nicky and the babysitter.
Oh, wow. Okay, just gonna translate that again. Então, eu perguntei pro Leslie sobre a menininha, né, do filme, e ele falou que ele reencontrou ela alguns anos atrás, numa das convenções dos Beatles lá nos Estados Unidos. Essa é ela hoje. Essa é a Nicola. E que não tá mais tão pequenininha, ela já está com 56 anos, acho que ele falou. E ele estava me contando que ela tem algumas memórias do filme, que a memória que ela tinha assim mais clara era de quando eles entraram nesse restaurante que o Leslie comentou agora há pouco, o restaurante onde vende peixe e batata frita, e a menina, eles colocam ela do outro lado do balcão e ela vai servindo os Beatles. Essa é uma das cenas que foram deletadas do filme, que o Leslie ficou assim, bem triste, bem chateado, porque era a cena que ele mais aparecia, né? E essa cena acabou sendo deletada. Então, infelizmente, para os dois, tanto para ela, que tem essa cena como a mais memorável, quanto para ele, que é a cena que ele mais aparece, acabou não indo, não fazendo parte do filme. E que mais que ele falou? Ele falou que durante as filmagens, a mãe da menina estava no ônibus. E que a menina era uma graça, ela era super esperta, ela sentava assim no colo das pessoas, sentou no colo dele, e aí ele acabou sendo encarregado de cuidar dela. E que uma bela hora, ela estava sentada atrás do John, e o John acabou dormindo na viagem de ônibus, ele estava com aquele chapéu que tem umas penas, e que ela foi lá, e ela batia assim na cara dele e falava, acorda, acorda, e tirava a pena do chapéu dele, ia lá cutucar ele, ele virou pro Leslie e falou mais ou menos assim, cuida dessa pirralha, fica de olho dela, faz ela parar de vir aqui me apurrinhar. Então, essa é a história da Little Nicola. Right, my last question on this subject is, when the song Magical Mystery Tour comes on the radio, do you think, oh wow, I was part of it? Do you have that emotion?
Yes, the moment
every time that it comes on?
The moment Sandro played that opening chord, is my memory just goes. I'm on that coach, and listening to the songs of the Magical Mystery Tour and the album. The movie didn't get such a great sort of, a great big hit, but it is a sort of cult movie now because it's in colour. But the song, so whenever I hear the songs, it does. It wasn't something like a distant memory. Oh, what happened there? I relive it. I relive that journey from the moment it started in Alsop Place, which is in London, by Madame Tussauds, all the way down to Cornwall, stopping off at Weybridge, stopping off at hotels where we had lunch, stopping off down in Cornwall, staying with the guy. I shared a room with a guy who was a photographer, and we had such a good laugh there. I mean, I had fantastic experiences because I socially went out with the Beatles, and when they finished recording, when they finished filming for the day, they all went their different ways. And a couple of occasions, Paul and Ringo, we wanted to go, and they got invited to go to a pub, and I went with them. I don't know how, why, or whatever, but I seemed to have been there. And it was Paul, Ringo, myself, and I think a couple of other people. We went to a guy called Spencer Davies, who had a famous hit called Keep On Running, and his relation had a pub there. And Paul McCartney just walked in there. I think we were about 9, 10 o'clock at night. And can you imagine, Southern Cornwall, what Cornish people are like, and they're all drinking their beer, and all of a sudden Paul McCartney walks in, and he was sat down at the piano there. He didn't, he didn't play a Beatles song at all. He was singing up like Knees Up Mother Brown, honky tonk piano. Ringo picked up a one-string mandolin from the wall and was plucking away there. I think we may have had a few drinks or 10. And, and that's the Magical Mystery Tour for me. My Magical Mystery Tour was my Magical Mystery Tour journey, because things happened. They weren't planned. It was as it was, as the journey itself on the Magical Mystery Tour. A lot of it was improvised. So, yeah, I do get the moment I hear it. Yes.
Ah, uau! Fantastic. E aí eu perguntei pro Leslie agora se quando ele escuta a música Magical Mystery Tour, quando ela vem no rádio e tal, ele se emociona, né, pensando, caramba, eu fui parte disso daí. E ele disse que sim, que é assim que ele escuta o primeiro acorde, pá, ele viaja, a cabeça dele já vai lá para trás, lá na viagem, de onde começou o ônibus ali, perto do Madame Tussauds, que vai fazendo toda a costa, porque é longe o lugar, gente, de Londres até o sul, que é para onde eles fizeram o filme, né? A maioria das cenas foram feitas no sul, dá mais ou menos umas 6 horas. Então, eles foram parando em cidadezinha, ficando em alguns hotéis, explorando aquelas áreas, e que tudo nessa viagem, nesse filme, na verdade, foi improvisado ali na hora, nada tinha script, nada foi combinado. Então, ele chegou a ser convidado pelo John e pelo Ringo para irem num pub tomar umas cervejas. Ele ficou lá tomando cerveja das 6 horas da tarde até as 10. Às 10 horas chegou o Paul McCartney, sentou no piano, começou a tocar. E o Ringo pegou um ukulele, um bandolim que estava na parede, começou a tocar também. Então, imagina, ele ali junto com os Beatles, tocando música, cantando, como se entre amigos, né? Como se fossem todos amigos ali. E que foi uma viagem muito mágica e misteriosa, viagem em todos os sentidos para ele. Thank you very much, Leslie, for telling us about the Magical Mystery Tour. I'm going to get the boys to come on now, because I think they might have a few questions as well. Sandro e André, vocês estão aí?
He's doing his hair.
I'm here.
He's doing his hair, yes.
You done your hair?
Hurry up for the Magical Mystery Tour.
Step right this way.
O Leslie está perguntando se vocês estavam fazendo o cabelo, por isso que vocês demoraram.
Tá. Estão passando um pouquinho de creme aqui. Aqui os cachinhos ficam por enquanto. Agora que eu
já tinha perguntado. Eu já tinha perguntado pro Leslie se estava bom meu cabelo, e eu disse, agora eu vou ter que raspar, que nem o Paul.
Se pensar bem, eu tô até parecido com o Paul, tirando a barba, eu tô parecendo com o Paul que foi pra Nairobi.
Safari.
Sim, é verdade. André says he looks like Paul McCartney when he went on the safari in Nairobi. Right, boys, do you have questions for Leslie?
Eu tenho uma pergunta.
Você.
Obrigado. Que time que ele torce, e lá em Liverpool, que time ele torceria se fosse escolher um time, um clube?
Okay, Sandra is
futebol.
Asking, what football team do you support? I think I know that one. I think I've heard. Is it Chelsea?
Well, no.
No!
It is the most wonderful football team in the world, Queen's Park Rangers.
Oh.
Queen's Park Rangers.
I don't know that one.
My son, when I told him that I support Queen's Park Rangers, which is the initials QPR, he says you support quarter pound of rubbish. But I have got my second team. You mustn't tell anybody this, because my second team is Chelsea.
I thought so.
They're both from West London. And I don't want them to hear that, because they're our biggest rivals. But yes, I do like Chelsea as well. But I love my QPR.
Sandra is also asking, if you had to support a team from Liverpool, which one would be?
Liverpool.
Fair enough. Você entendeu?
Oh my God! Oh my God!
You were blue, man. I'm sorry. I watched them. You'll be very happy, Sandra. Today they played in a community shield and they lost to the Arsenal.
Who did? Everton?
Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool.
Liverpool.
O Liverpool perdeu hoje. No jogo de hoje. Então, gente, só traduzindo, ele disse que ele gosta do Queen's Park Rangers, is that right? Queen's Park Rangers. E que o filho dele brinca, chama porque a inicial é QPR, então ele chama de Quarter Pound Rubbish. É engraçado, é uma brincadeira deles. E que o time de Liverpool, se ele fosse torcer para um time de Liverpool, seria o Liverpool mesmo. E que um outro time que ele gosta, que eu já tinha ouvido falar também, era do Chelsea, mas que ele não gosta de ficar divulgando isso muito, porque acho que deve ter alguma rivalidade aí, que eu não manjo muito de futebol, então não sei. Mais alguma pergunta,
Obrigado.
Sandro?
Eu não, faço o André. Andrezinho, vai lá.
Tá, eu tenho uma...
Can I just say, my Brazilian football team is Santos. Is any of this...
Oh, Pelé,
Santos. Robinho jogou no Chelsea.
No caso do Magical Mystery Tour, eu não preferia ver o filme do Pelé. Piadinha do Chaves.
E você, André, tem alguma pergunta?
Eu tenho. O negócio é o seguinte. É claro que ele estava lá no meio daquele pessoal todo, né? Tipo assim, vivendo lá no meio dos 4 Beatles, de todos os relacionados e tal, e ele curtindo aquele momento. Mas será que ele teve algum momento na cabeça dele a proporção que a parte da história que ele estava vivendo e que ele estaria aqui hoje para poder viver essas memórias todas de novo e ver tanta gente interessada de cada ponto da história dele relacionado aos Beatles e da carreira dele também, como barbeiro, cabeleireiro?
Okay, so André is asking, when you were on the Magical Mystery Tour bus, did you have any idea of the dimension of how huge it was going to become, how iconic it was going to become? And did you think that in 40 years' time you'd be still telling this story?
Not really at the time, because the longevity of the Beatles, everyone, you talk to them about the Who, Pete Townsend, Mick Jagger, the Beatles, they thought they would probably be there for 10 years, and that was really pushing it. Went on to 12 years, 15 years, you never thought at the time that this would be a film that 50 years later you'll still be talking about. I thought maybe it'd get lost in the vaults or something, but the Beatles, and I was told this many times, if you lived in the era of Chopin, Beethoven, Mozart, and Tchaikovsky, you happen to be around at that time, you'd say, yeah, fantastic composers. Well, we don't realize how lucky we are. That there's Lennon and McCartney. They are composers that would, we're talking about this now in 50 years' time. If the world's still here in 500 years' time, they'll still be talking about Lennon and McCartney, and that's for sure. So the Magical Mystery Tour that journey will be going on and on and on.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And can I just say something just before? I asked you for, you've got someone listening called Beatle Junior Lennon.
Beatle Junior Lennon. I think he just sent a message.
He's just sent a message. I want to say hi to him. Yes. He lives in Brazil, obviously. I've just sent him my book. He's going to let me know, so I hope you get it soon. And I just want to say hi to him. I saw it come up. So, hi, Beatle John Jr. Anyway.
Thank you, Leslie. Então, a resposta para o André foi a seguinte, que na época não tinha caído a ficha dele da dimensão de como seria icônico, né, esse filme, porque naquela época os próprios Beatles e os Rolling Stones, eles achavam que eles só iam durar 10 anos no máximo, e que ele não tinha a menor ideia, né, e daí foram passando os anos, e cada ano que passava, e cada ano que passa até hoje, ele se sente mais e mais privilegiado de não só ter feito parte, né, do filme, mas de poder ter conhecido esses compositores que a gente pode comparar hoje com o Beethoven, né, o Chopin né, dos tempos atuais. E como que nós hoje temos sorte de ter vivido isso, né? Então, hoje mesmo, eu acredito, para pessoas mais novas, gerações de agora, são ainda sortudas de terem o Paul e o Ringo ainda vivos, né, que são lendas, compositores lendários dos nossos tempos modernos, e eu acredito também que seja para muitas e muitas outras décadas ainda. Então, essa foi a sua resposta, André. Mais alguma pergunta?
Poxa, é fantástico. Eu fico até sem palavras, eu só gostaria de agradecer a ele pela oportunidade, né, de estar contando essas histórias aqui pra gente, né, nós aqui na América Latina, ele lá, e você também, na Inglaterra, sabe, a gente se sente privilegiado, porque para mim, o mais fácil que tinha é você chegar e ouvir os discos, sabe, e agora tá aqui, assim, convivendo com uma pessoa que tava lá também, pô. Isso é fantástico.
I think Andrea is getting super excited to have you with us tonight. He says it's amazing because I thought the closest I would get to the Magical Mystery Tour was the record, and now we have Leslie telling us all these stories, you know, of how it happened, what happened, and it's just fascinating, and he would like to thank you very much.
I thank you. Thank you so much for the music, and it's been absolutely a pleasure, and thank you. And one day, hopefully, we'll meet up, please.
Oh, thank you. And wait, because I have a surprise for you.
Thank you.
Later on.
Later.
Now, later on.
Later.
Right, okay. So now I think we're gonna have some people asking questions, I think. I'm not quite sure. Sandro.
Oi.
O pessoal já fez algumas perguntas para o Leslie? Eu não estou conseguindo
Já teve
acompanhar.
bastante perguntas aqui, teve umas perguntas aqui.
Você quer me falar quais são as perguntas?
Claro.
Eu pergunto algumas para ele?
Com certeza. Pergunta assim, o Daniel Marques, antes de responder falar uma das perguntas do chat, eu quero fazer um agradecimento às pessoas que estão assistindo, porque tem pessoas assistindo lá no YouTube, no meu particular, Sandro Trindade, na página do Facebook da Parlofone, e nos links que a gente dispara através da página da Parlofone e outros canais, né?
Uhum.
Quero agradecer a Marlene Tillman, o Carlos Schultz, a Fernanda Lima, nossa parceirona também em São Paulo, que está sempre presente, né? Hello, Patrícia Inder, que está nos assistindo aqui também. Gilvão Moura, o Gilvão Moura, sem comentários.
Grande Gilvão.
Tu, Audrey, como eu sempre comentei, né? Fomentam a cena da bitomania no Brasil, né? O Gilvão, então, um abraço para ele. E a nossa live semana que vem, hein?
Verdade.
André, tu tá convidado para a live, tá? Primeira mão. O Beatle John Jr. também tá mandando um abraço aqui para nós todos. E a pergunta, voltando na tua questão que tu me perguntou, qual dos 4 Beatles era o mais vaidoso em relação a corte de cabelo?
Ok. So, someone is asking, quem perguntou, Sandro? Someone's asking.
Foi o Daniel Marques Ferreira.
Daniel is asking which of the Beatles were the vainest when it comes to hair cutting, hairstyles, and things like that. Which one was the most vain Beatle?
Patricia, that's a question. Were they vain? I don't think they were vain. I think I was the vainest. You know, I think it was me. I always wanted to look good when I did their hair. So, you know, I can't remember. When I did John Lennon's hair, he never even looked in the mirror. You know, I just said I'd finished with thanks. You know, McCartney's hair I used to do up in his bathroom, so he would see it, but he never sort of, as I said before, he didn't sort of say, "Well, can you take it shorter there?" It was fine. George, when we had the Beatles opened a hairdresser salon for me in the King's Road in Chelsea, and on the because they lived in the country, when George used to come up for meetings, he used to have his chauffeur drop the car, wait outside the salon. George would come down, he would just come in, would wash his hair, and I'd cut it and I'd blow dry it, and I'd have some music on. I'd probably have something like the Floyd or some psychedelic music, or he just wanted quietness, and he was very, I didn't speak to him much. He was sort of meditating while doing his hair. It's very relaxing.
Wow.
Watching your hair, and he was just sort of drifting. So I'm not even sure he looked at the mirror either. So I was their mirror. You know, I had to mirror that at the time what their hair looked like, and no one was telling me what to do. It was what I wanted to do. It wasn't radical. It was just the way it was at the time. So, you know, vain, Patricia, I was the vainest.
Perfect, thank you so much. Daniel, ele disse que ele não acha que nenhum deles realmente tinha nenhuma vaidade, que na verdade quem tinha mais vaidade era ele com o cabelo dele. Mas que os Beatles, o John, ele cortava o cabelo do John e o John ficava lá lendo alguma coisa, disse que ele saía sem nem olhar no espelho, não tava nem aí como é que tava o cabelo dele. O Paul também, o Paul ele chegou a cortar o cabelo do Paul curtíssimo, né? Então o Paul também não tava muito aí para corte de cabelo. E o George, ele chegava no salão onde o Leslie trabalhava com um chofer, o chofer deixava ele, ficava aguardando, ele entrava no salão e meditava enquanto ele cortava o cabelo dele. Então ele falou que era uma experiência muito gostosa, porque era calmo, ele ficava lá cortando, tinha todo o tempo do mundo para cortar o cabelo do George. Então essa é a sua resposta. I have a friend of mine, she used to go out with John Lennon in the early 60s, and she's with us tonight, and she's asking, which one did you think was the funniest Beatle?
Think the funniest Beatle. Well, I tell you something. Just going to look on the Magical Mystery Tour to see how humorous Ringo is. He's always sort of larking around. I would certainly say Ringo had the outward personality. I feel that's because he was the drummer, and the drummer was in the background. And when Paul often used to harmonize with George, so their faces were always together, and then there would be John on his own, or it would be John and George, and Paul and Ringo would be in the back. So, Ringo as well didn't do hardly any drum solos, not like Keith Moon or John Bonham, or Ginger Baker. These guys were drummers that suddenly went to the drums. It didn't happen with Ringo, although Ringo's drum beat was the heartbeat of the Beatles. So he had to project himself. I feel that, I'm Ringo and the drummer. And so he was very funny. And I think that you'll see a lot with I did his hair for the Magic Christian with Peter Sellers and I've forgotten the other name now, but he was fantastic in that film. The humor was brilliant. And on the Magical Mystery Tour, you see him, the humour that comes out there. So that's when I saw him. At the studios, it was all a bit different. But outwardly, I would think that he probably had the one that had the most humour.
Ok, thank you very much. Então eu perguntei para ele, a minha amiga Patrícia ainda tinha feito uma pergunta de qual que era o Beatles mais engraçado, e ele acha que era o Ringo, porque o Ringo, como ele ficava sempre muito sozinho, solitário, né, tocando a bateria, ele tinha que de alguma forma se sobressair. Então que ele acabou projetando a personalidade dele a partir de então, desde a época que ele estava lá tocando sozinho, ele tinha que ter essa personalidade mais engraçada, mais bonachona, mais brincalhona, e que foi isso que ele percebeu no ônibus, e que a gente também pode ver no filme, no Magical Mystery Tour. I think there's another question here from Gilvan. Did George ask to keep his hairstyle covering his ears?
The answer to that is no, and I know, I obviously look at the Beatles from the early days. I can always tell when I got involved with the Beatles through their hair. And so when I see their hair from 1967, George and John let their hair grow really long. Paul didn't. He kept it, okay. Ringo started letting his hair grow long. When I say long, shoulder length, we're talking about John and George letting their hair grow past their shoulders. So, yeah, you can put your hair behind the ears, but there was never that haircut where you show the ears. It was definitely over the ears. But again, they never said to me, make sure my ears show.
Covered, yeah. O Gilvan tinha perguntado se o George pediu para ele fazer aquele corte cobrindo as orelhas, e ele disse que não, que o cabelo deles depois já no final era tão comprido que acabava ficando, né, cobrindo a orelha de qualquer forma, mas que nenhum especificamente fez esse pedido para ele. Temos mais perguntas, Sandro? Eu estou achando difícil de acompanhar, que tem tanta gente entrando hoje.
Eu tenho uma pergunta, não sei se posso fazer mais uma.
Claro.
Pergunta para ele, por gentileza, se em meio toda aquela andança com eles ali, o entrosamento que ele tinha com o Paul ali, se ele chegou a ver alguma composição, eles fazendo alguma coisa, o Paul fazendo alguma coisa, e um conto uma coisa que ele possa comentar, um caso curioso, tanto no filme ou do dia a dia, que ele não comentou aqui, que fica na memória dele até hoje, que não foi que foi por trás dos bastidores de toda a imprensa, de tudo que a gente já ouviu falar, tanto do filme quanto de making off do Magical Mystery Tour.
Tá. Okay, so 2 more questions for you, Leslie.
Okay.
Do you have any fond memories of a specific event that happened during the filming of Magical Mystery Tour? Anything that comes to your mind that you think it's funny, that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think that I told you the story about going to the pub. That was really, really special. That wasn't even recorded. That's part of who was there, who would say that. So that itself was an instant memory. Someone said Magical Mr. Joe, I remember that. And the other times was...
Sorry, I think the line is breaking up for me. What was the special memory again?
The memory was going into the pub.
The pub. Okay, yeah. Got it.
Because that wasn't recorded or no one filmed that. And the other things was the madness on the coach. No one really knew. For instance, the coach we were going to Widdicombe Fair, which was obviously planned, but nobody had thought that going over the bridge at Widdicombe on the way there, the coach wasn't big enough, so he got stuck. So he had to reverse. So, when you're on the coach and you're sitting there and suddenly you're stuck, it's like a ship being stuck inside the key there. You can't move. So the driver, first you've got to get out there. You've got the bridge and the water either side. You've got the drivers sort of panicking because everyone's panicking because we're stuck. They had to reverse back. We were being followed by the press, so there were lots of cars behind. And that was mayhem. And John Lennon lost his temper there. But it was funny. It was funny, the thing to happen. So I think of that, of the chaos. When people say, it really was an improvised magical mystery tour. Every moment was magical and every moment was improvised. So, I remember those two distinctly.
Uau! Então, respondendo a pergunta do Sandro, o momento que ele se lembra, que ele gosta muito de se lembrar, é essa história que ele contou pra gente do pub, que eles foram de noite pro pub e ficaram tocando e tomando cervejas e tal. Essa é uma lembrança que ele gosta muito. E que também a loucura dentro do ônibus, aquela farra que as pessoas estavam fazendo dentro do ônibus, e também o dia que eles estavam querendo ir ver uma feira que tinha numa cidadezinha, numa vilazinha ali próxima de onde eles estavam, e que o ônibus tinha que passar por uma ponte. E aqui as pontes, principalmente no interior, são muito pequenininhas, são bem apertadas, são pequenas mesmo, estreitas e pequenas. E que o ônibus era grande demais. E ele ficou preso nessa ponte. Tinha um riozinho que passava, e eles começaram a ficar assim com medo que aquela água fosse subir, e o ônibus que não, ficou ali avacalhado, não saía do lugar, e que o John acabou perdendo a paciência. Então ele lembra dessas duas ocasiões, sempre.
Audrey, tem mais umas perguntas, não sei se ele pode responder, do pessoal que está fazendo no chat aqui.
Vamos perguntar para ele.
Por favor.
Leslie, we have so many people joining us tonight, and I still have some people asking questions. How many more questions do you want to answer?
I'll answer a couple more, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Lovely, if that's okay.
Lovely. Sandro, duas perguntas mais, por favor?
Duas perguntas. Eu vou começar com a da Fernanda Lima, de São Paulo.
Sim.
Se ele tem algum arrependimento sobre aquela época em relação ou a algo que poderia ter feito ou dito para os guris, para os meninos e não fez. E ela agradece muito a gentileza e o tempo do Leslie, em dividir todas essas histórias conosco, tá? Depois eu faço outra pergunta para não perder o foco aqui.
Fernanda is asking if you have any regrets, if you think of anything that you could have said or done back then in the 60s that you didn't.
Do I have any regrets? Not really. Could I have moved on and done hairdressing, stayed in hairdressing longer? Maybe, maybe not. I don't regret it. I sort of think about where I started from when I couldn't hold a pair of comb and scissors at 15. And I saw the Beatles when I was 15 by, with 150 people at a private, well, it wasn't private, but it seemed like a private gig. And I never thought that 4 years later, after watching them on stage, that just under 4 years, I would be cutting their hair. I never thought I'd be in their company. And I just sort of, it was a memory that if you're going to do, it's not, I don't regret it, it's just fabulous. It's like everything else. The Beatles broke up, they moved on, I moved on, and I kept quiet about my journey. I didn't want to sort of, all the time I used to get, even when I was doing their hair, I used to get the press ring up and see if they could eke out any little stories that they could, make sensationalized, whatever. Money was being offered to me, and it was something that it was my memory, and it's only till, as we say, 50 years later, that I wrote a book. And my book was what I'm telling you now. This is just a minor, tiny little piece of it. I go through this whole journey of that time. It wasn't just music. It was the fashion, the culture, the politics, Vietnam at the time. There was a whole little cultural revolution coming on in England and in Europe. So that was a journey watching, the top hairdresser change the hairstyles completely of what hair used to be in geometric look, watching the Beatles, change music, writing music, coming from England, to be part of that. When I sort of hung up my scissors a bit early, which is probably the only regret I did, but maybe I should have moved on a little bit with them. But you know what? I quite like my scissors in my holster, and I bring it out occasionally to fire a few snips. So that's the way I feel.
Perfect, thank you. Fê, ele está dizendo que ele não tem nenhum arrependimento, que tudo aconteceu na época que devia acontecer, que ele teve muita sorte em 1962, ele tinha um conhecido que era amigo dos Beatles e acabou convidando ele para assistir uma apresentação que os Beatles fizeram em Londres, num palquinho pequenininho, para 152 pessoas apenas, e ele estava entre essas 152 pessoas, e que naquela época ele jamais pensaria que ele seria amigo dos Beatles e que, imagina, né, participar do filme, isso nem passava pela cabeça dele. Então, que ele teve, depois disso, ele teve muitos jornalistas oferecendo dinheiro a ele, para ele contar os podres e tudo mais, e que ele nunca aceitou, mesmo sendo ofertas assim maravilhosas, porque a dignidade dele, a lealdade dele com os Beatles acabou falando sempre mais alto, e que foi muito bom, de uma certa forma, que ele não aceitou nenhuma dessas propostas, porque depois, agora, ele fez o livrinho dele, então, contando todas essas histórias, que é uma coisa dele. Então, essa é a resposta para você. Espero que você goste. Sandro, mais alguma última?
Tem uma pergunta, na verdade, quem fez foi o André, e eu vou botar o André na tela para ele fazer a pergunta diretamente, que daí fica mais fácil.
Ok.
Hi, I'm back.
Hi, welcome back. How'd your hair done?
I'm trying now to speak English. It's more easy for me to sing than talk, but I'm doing well.
A good job, don't I?
Where was the last time that you cut a hair from a Beatle or son of a Beatle? Anyone?
Anybody connected with a Beatle? A long time.
Yeah.
It was a while ago that I did that. I tell you, what I do follow their hair. Well, I certainly have followed Ringo's and Paul's, more Paul's, because I said to Paul McCartney when I first met him, as I said, I always look at hair and look at people's hair, and I'm going to say I've got similar hair to him. I like to say he's got similar hair to me, but between the two of us, we're blessed of having hair. We could have lost it, and although he's 5 years older than me, we've still got hair. And when I met him about 7 years ago, we met for the new digital release of the Magical Mystery Tour. I went with my son Aidan, and we were there. And when it was finally over, the film, I turned around. He was behind me, and I didn't want to sort of go up to him and sort of whatever, but we both looked at each other, bit like lovers actually. And he sort of with his finger went, Leslie, and I went, Paul, and went up to him. We hugged each other, which was really nice. We were allowed to do it in those days. Can't do it these days. Virtual hugs, it would be. And I said to him, I made you a promise. He said, what was that? I said, look, we've both got still our hair. And he went, so there you go.
What year was that, Leslie?
2012. So 8 years.
Wow, so quite recently, yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's the nearest I got to it.
Oh, Patricia Inder is asking if you got to keep the scissors that you cut their hair with.
No. I have a pair of scissors. I do have the scissors upstairs. I suppose if you want to DNA it, maybe. I think not, though. Because I used a bit like guitars, lots of guitarists have different guitars, and some they get rid of and some they come back. I've got quite a few pair of scissors upstairs. Maybe one of them cut the Beatles' hair. I could say it, couldn't I? I could actually say these are the scissors that cut the Beatles' hair. I sell it for, you know what? I'm going to keep them myself.
Good for you.
Audrey, agora você tem que traduzir pro pessoal aqui.
Você quer traduzir?
Não, melhor você.
Certeza? Você entendeu o que ele te respondeu?
Sim, entendi. Mas é pro pessoal também entender que tá acompanhando.
Ah, perfeito.
Could you say, Audrey, could you just say hi to a lovely lady that's a relation of mine who happens to be Brazilian called Marlene Tillman? So could you welcome Marlene Tillman? I think she's watching the show. Could you welcome her in Portuguese?
Yeah, of course, yes. Oi, Marlene Tillman. Beijo para você que está assistindo a gente. O Leslie está mandando um alô para você. Ele já tinha comentado que hoje você ia assistir a live. Eu acho que eu estou vendo seu nome também aqui. Então, obrigada por participar. Então, a pergunta do... You're welcome. A pergunta do André foi quando foi a última vez que ele cortou um cabelo de algum dos Beatles. Ele falou que foi há muitos anos atrás e que ele teve a oportunidade de rever o Paul McCartney em 2012 novamente e que o Paul reconheceu ele, que ele até tinha medo que o Paul não fosse reconhecer, tá? E o Paul fez, Leslie, ele fez Paul. E ele disse assim, tá vendo, Paul, eu mantive a sua promessa. E o Paul disse, qual foi a promessa que você me fez? Ele falou assim, que nós dois ainda teríamos cabelo nessa idade. Então, o último contato que ele teve, respondendo o André, foi em 2012 com o Paul McCartney, mas eu não acredito que ele tenha cortado o cabelo do Paul em 2012, que foi só mesmo um encontro. Então, eu acho que é isso. Essas foram as perguntas de hoje. E agora, só para terminar, eu vou perguntar para o Leslie sobre a Apple Boutique, porque ele acabou tendo um salão. Ele foi convidado para abrir o salão dele na parte de baixo da Apple. Leslie, can you just tell us very quickly about the Apple Boutique, how it came about and what it was like?
Okay, the story came about where the Beatles, as a part of Apple Corporation, we decided to go into Apple Electronics, films, tailoring, clothes, everything, plus the music. The music seemed to have been sort of on the back burner there. And they opened up a boutique in Baker Street, which they had 4 people called the Fool, who were Dutch designers that designed the most beautiful stuff that unfortunately was too expensive to sell. And also people used to go in there hoping a Beatle would serve them, thinking John Lennon would be behind the counter and say, yeah, can I please try that dress on, or So that didn't work. But there was a shop in the King's Road, that was in Baker Street, but down in Chelsea, which is sort of the artist quarter at the time, what it always was, But there was lots of these fantastic boutiques that were individual, like Dandy Fashions and Hung on You and Granny Takes a Trip, and all these people who had individual people that were designing clothes. One of the guys, a guy called John Criddle, who had Dandy Fashions, who happened to dress Brian Jones of the Stones, Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, George Harrison, you name it, Rod Stewart, you name it, all the guys that you see in Velvet, they all went to Dandy Fashions. When Apple wanted to take over a shop, they approached John and said, we'd like to have Dandy Fashions, we can call it Apple Tailoring, and we want downstairs a hairdressing salon, and we want Leslie to work there, and we'll finance it for him, and you as well. So I met this guy, John Criddle, and upstairs he had all the clothes and ready-made clothes. Downstairs was my salon and all the material that clients like Hendrix would come down. I'll tell you a quick funny story before we go, that Hendrix came down when I wasn't doing a client, and he was with John, and they said to each other, what are you doing now? He said, I'm going on tour, and he said, I wanted a beautiful jacket made. So John was measuring it up, and he said, I'll have it. So John had this, I'll never forget, it was a purple velvet, and he started fitting him up with it, and he said, yeah, it looks great, fantastic, John. So John said, fantastic. He said, and what colour do you want it in? And there were 4 lots of shells with about, I don't know, 50 patterns of velvet, different shades of velvet, and he just went, I'll have all of them. And he had all the jackets made in all the colours of velvet. And you look at any Jimi Hendrix when he goes on tour, he's always got a different type of velvet jacket. And the same with Brian Jones of the Stones. You just look, they're all made by John Criddle. And, that's how I ended up there. So when I wasn't doing the hair, I was watching all these guys come down, all these famous people being dressed, and it was absolutely beautiful. And that's how I was asked to, by McCartney and George Harrison at a meeting, would I like to have, again, we would like you to open up a salon for you. Yes, please. So that's how that happened.
Did you get to keep any of the clothing from Apple Boutique at all?
Yeah, I kept, I've got a picture of me in I always wore velvet jackets, chocolate brown, green, purple, light blue. Yeah, I was a real sort of velvet man. I used to love it. Velvet trousers, great.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and Afghan coats.
Do you still have them?
No, I haven't got them anymore, but what I have got, I've got a bag, a carpet bag made in leather, which I used to carry my hairdressing equipment, and that was brought in by some hippie that came in and said, look, I can make these bags, not to me, but to the shop, and I can make them, and used to hand stitch them, used to get all different patterns of the carpet, used to put the two together, do the leather and try it, and they were one-offs, every bag was different. I've still got that today. So that is my my bit of the past of the famous 60s individual clothing come accessory. So
where was the carpet from? Was it from the Apple Boutique?
The carpet, we used to go and buy these carpets, from, at the time, to come from Afghan, we used to have beads around a shoulder bag we used to wear. It was all sort of very laid back, man, and and the carpets used to be old carpet. I mean, I'll give you another example, that a fashion that is example now. We had someone come in to the shop that cut up some old Levi jeans and put them on a boot. So you've got denim boots. We had a lady came in that cut the bottoms of the Levi's and made it into a skirt. So you had a Levi's, you had a denim skirt. Now all this is so, denim skirt or old hat. I'm telling you, when these guys brought those in, no one had ever seen a denim skirt before. No one had ever seen a pair of denim boots. And
No.
this is happening. And this, as I said before, this whole culture change of you never knew what was going to happen. You really did not know. It was exciting.
So cool.
Good times. Good fun.
Eu perguntei para ele sobre a boutique da Apple e ele me disse que tinha um senhor que trabalhava fazendo roupas com tecelaria, e ele, naquela época que os Beatles já tinham essa ideia de expandir a marca Apple, eles tinham muitas propostas. Então, por exemplo, ele contou logo no começo que tinha um grupo de designers de moda da Holanda chamado The Fools, que pintaram o Rolls Royce do John Lennon e o Mini do George, e que eles também propuseram trabalhar para os Beatles, e os Beatles aceitaram. Então, eles pintaram a loja da Apple por fora, e ele me contou que os Beatles chegaram para ele um belo dia e falaram: olha, a gente está abrindo essa loja, você gostaria de ter um salão de cabeleireiro, né, na parte de baixo? Ele falou: claro, lógico que sim, né? Imagina se não. Então, que às vezes, quando ele não estava ocupado, ele via os clientes chegando na loja, que era nada mais nada menos que o Jimi Hendrix, e que o Jimi Hendrix chegava lá e esse senhor que trabalhava com a tecelagem perguntava para ele: você quer a jaqueta, né? Tirou a medida e tal, você quer a jaqueta, mas em que cor, né? Eu tenho todos esses veludos, tinha assim, uma variedade de 50 veludos. Aí o Jimi Hendrix falava: todos, eu quero uma em cada cor. E então ele falou que era assim demais, ele via as pessoas famosas chegando, comprando as coisas. Aí eu perguntei se ele tinha alguma peça. Ele falou que na época ele usou muita coisa da Apple, que ele comprava ou ganhava, não sei. Ele usava aquelas calças de veludo, tudo muito colorido, né? Que naquela época as cores eram gritantes, era tudo muito assim, muito legal, muito bonito, tudo diferente do que até então já tinha sido visto. E que mais que ele me contou? Que eu perguntei se ele tem alguma dessas roupas até hoje. Ele falou que infelizmente não, mas o que ele tem até hoje é uma dessas malas, né, daquelas estilo meio hippie, que ele pediu para o senhor fazer especificamente para ele, com carpetes, assim, pegou o carpete e fez assim a bolsa. Eu falei: mas carpete da onde? Da loja? Ele falou assim: não, carpetes velhos que a gente encontrava. Naquela época, a criatividade era tão grande que a gente pegava, a gente não, né? No caso, o senhor que fazia, o designer, ele cortava assim jeans, calça jeans da Levi's, por exemplo, e fazia botas e colocava nas botas. Então todo mundo saía na rua com bota de jeans, que até então, imagina, nunca ninguém tinha visto algo do tipo. Então essas são as memórias da época da Apple. And now,
okay,
I'm going to do a very quick game with you. It's called Would You Rather.
It's dinner time in UK.
I know it is, and I am starving. So, here it goes. I'll say Would You Rather, and you just give me one answer. Eu vou fazer um game aqui com ele que se chama Você Preferiria. A primeira pergunta: cortar o cabelo do Paul estilo moicano ou fazer uma permanente no Ringo? So, would you rather give Paul a Mohican or give Ringo a perm?
I'd like to give Ringo a perm.
Ele preferiria fazer uma permanente no Ringo. Would you rather cook a veggie meal with Paul or do some gardening with George?
I think I'd like to do some gardening with George.
Ok. Eu perguntei se ele preferiria cozinhar uma refeição vegetariana com o Paul, fazer jardinagem com o George. Ele preferiria fazer jardinagem com o George. A próxima pergunta: dirigir o Rolls Royce do John ou o busão do Magical Mystery Tour? Would you rather drive John's Rolls Royce or drive the Magical Mystery Tour bus?
I would probably crash the bus, but I better stick to the Rolls Royce.
Ele disse que provavelmente ele ia bater o ônibus, então que ele preferiria dirigir o Rolls Royce do John. Eu vou perguntar se ele preferiria ter visto os Beatles tocarem no Shea Stadium ou no Cavern Club. Would you rather have seen the Beatles play Shea Stadium or the Cavern Club?
Cavern Club.
O Cavern Club.
You wouldn't hear them at Shea Stadium.
True, porque no Shea Stadium ele não conseguiria ouvir os Beatles tocando. Last one is, eu vou perguntar para ele escutar por meia hora direto a música Revolution 9 ou ficar olhando a foto da capa do Two Virgins por meia hora. Would you rather listen to Revolution 9 on repeat for 30 minutes straight or stare at the cover of Two Virgins for 30 minutes straight?
Probably look at the Two Virgins.
Would you?
Yeah, because I know where it was taken,
Ah.
and I know the story behind it. And I picked up 4 copies of it at Apple, which I kept. You know, when you say I kept, actually I did. I sold. I lost the other 2 or 3, and I did sell one of them. And in America, when it went out, or even Europe, they put a cross across the private parts of Yoko's private parts and John's private parts. But no, I wasn't just wanting to look at their private parts. I just thought it was a fascinating thing to do. So, yeah, 30 minutes of that was fine.
Lovely. That's surprising, because I thought you would choose to listen to Revolution 9. But good answer. I like that. Ele prefere ficar olhando a capa do Two Virgins porque ele soube da história de como que o John acabou fazendo aquela capa, ele gostou da história e que na época ele acabou pegando 4 cópias lá na própria boutique da Apple e ele guardou apenas um, os outros ele perdeu e um eu acho que ele vendeu, então que ele tem até hoje essa cópia. Okay, Leslie.
Thank you.
Last question. Do you have a Beatles song, a favorite Beatles song?
My favorite Beatles song? Yeah, that's a difficult one. You know, I look at it as if I was a Beatle, and I know that Paul McCartney and Jane Asher were very much in love. And I'm just thinking, if I was in that position, how could I show that person that the feelings? And when you listen to And I Love Her, I think it sums everything up. So is it my favorite Beatles song? It's a song that I wished, if I had one song to write in my life, I would love to have written that song. So I'll put that song as a song.
You did mention to me quite a few other songs as well that you quite like.
I love songs, you know, things we've said today. The early ones I used to love, you know, but Not a Second Time, you know, great songs, you know. I look at them and think people, you know, they were 19, 20, 21, even younger when they wrote them. And they all went through such different sort of emotions, you know, love emotions and heartbreak emotions. And, you know, we all go through those emotions when you're young, but to put it down in music and to make it really, you know, make it a great sound is, I love playing those songs. You know, there are the other songs I like as well. Paperback Writer and Day Tripper is great. Listen to Ringo with them. But, you know, those songs, you know, Things We Said Today, Not a Second Time, And I Love Her, I Should Have Known Better. You know, great songs, you know, so I've got a few.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to get André to sing you a song. And then we're going to say our goodbyes. And I'm just going to translate that very quickly. Eu perguntei pro Leslie se ele tem uma música favorita de Beatles. Ele disse que se ele tivesse que escolher uma música dos Beatles para ouvir pro resto da vida seria And I Love Her, porque é uma música romântica, uma música que o Paul fez pra Jane, que ele acha importante. Mesmo porque ele tinha, né, esse contato com a Jane Asher. Então é a música que ele mais gosta. Mas ele também tinha comentado comigo esses dias que ele gostava de algumas outras músicas, tipo Not a Second Time, Things We Say Today, Should Have Known Better. Então o André vai fazer uma surpresa para ele agora. André, você pode tocar pra gente?
Ok.
I should have known better with a girl like you, that I would love everything that you do, and I do. Hey, 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 and I do. Oh, the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know this love of mine will never die. Life is very short and there's no time. The pursuit of fighting, my friend. I have always thought that it's a crime. So I will ask you once again. Try to see it my way. All the time that I live, I am right, so I am wrong. Wanna see each way. There's a constant in my body, body, body too long. We can work it out. We can work it out. Thank you.
Did you like that?
That's every song I love, and thank you so much. Love. Oh, that made it.
This was our way to say thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
It was an absolute delight for us to have you here with us tonight. I am so sorry that this live became a little bit longer, but you had so many stories to tell us, and I'm sure you still have so many other stories to tell everybody. So for that reason, I'm just gonna tell people that you have a book out there,
Thank you.
and it is called The Cutting Edge.
Cutting edge.
And
In English?
it is available. Yeah, that's the book.
And in Espanhol.
Em espanhol também. Para quem não entende inglês e gostaria de conhecer as histórias do Leslie, tem também o book disponível em espanhol. É o Peluquero de los Beatles. Está disponível no website do Leslie, que é o www.beatleshairdresser.com. E para quem também estiver pensando em vir para Londres no futuro, não agora, obviamente, mas no futuro, eu soube que o Leslie também faz tours particulares sobre os lugares que os Beatles... que ele saía com os Beatles, que os lugares famosos, os lugares que fizeram parte da história dele com os Beatles. Então, também tem essa tour, que provavelmente vai acontecer ano que vem, e vai ter mais informações sobre isso também no website www.beatleshairdresser.com. I was just saying that you've got your book out on your website, and also you have tours of London, private tours of London, where you take people to your favorite spots, where you used to hang out with the Beatles, famous spots. And when this pandemic is over, hopefully it will be soon, Leslie caiu.
Oh my.
Eu queria falar tchau pro Leslie. Não sei se ele vai conseguir voltar.
Não, ele vai voltar.
Emoção.
Acho que ele volta. Ele tá ali, eu acho que só caiu ali. Ele deve estar voltando. Aqui pra mim não caiu.
Isso. Poxa.
Vamos aguardar.
Que bom que vocês gostaram aí da homenagem que foi pro...
André.
Oi.
Participamos por tabela do Magical Mystery Tour.
Hã?
Participamos por tabela do Magical Mystery Tour.
Pois é, bicho. Só que aqui teria que ser...
Obrigado,
no Brasil,
Audrey.
teria que ser uma Kombi, né?
É verdade. Enquanto o Leslie não
Aquela
volta,
Kombi carioca.
Eu vou contar para vocês uma curiosidade enquanto o Leslie não volta rapidinho. Quando eles
Agora ele
caiu. Eu acho que ele me mandou aqui uma mensagem falando: espera. Wait,
a gente aguarda.
Back. Eu acho que ele vai voltar. Ele me mandou uma mensagem.
Tá.
No hotel que os Beatles ficaram, eu cheguei a ir também uns anos atrás, acho que foi em 2006. E eu achei muito curioso que, assim, atrás do hotel tinha, assim, como se fosse uma boca de um bueiro, aqueles latões, assim, uma tampa, né? De metal. E estava escrito assim, Ruba, Pilchards, um monte de coisa. Porque como é uma cidade na costa, eles falam dos pescadores, né? Da sardinha, né? Que seria o Pilchard, né? Que é a sardinha, Ruba. Ruba é quando os pescadores vinham a sardinha chegando, eles gritavam um pro outro, Ruba! E daí eles iam lá pescar. Então tá escrito Ruba. E eu tenho certeza que os Beatles olharam aquilo ali no chão, devem ter tirado uma foto, e depois fizeram I Am The Walrus, usaram isso, porque fala Semolina Pilchard,
Oh,
e
yeah.
fala Ruba, Ruba,
Back again.
everybody jumpa, you're back again!
I do apologise. Something went wrong with the computer, but I'm back. Anyway, as you were saying about the tours.
The tours, yes.
Okay, so if anybody, obviously, when we get this pandemic is finished, I will take them on a personal tour around London. I'll tell them at the store they can go on Beatle tours, and yes, people will tell them what it was like at Abbey Road or wherever. I will actually tell them what it was like because I was there. So if anybody, when this all happens, please contact me. Regarding the book, Little John Junior Beatles get another mention here. I've a lot of books I've sent to South America, and I will give if they contact me, I'll sign it personally, a message. I'm very happy to do that. So, yes, you can buy the book, but if you want to get it through me, I'll do a personal sign for it. And, it'd be really good. So,
Thank you so
I look
much,
forward
Leslie.
to everybody there. I want to just thank you so much, Sandra and Andre, for making me feel welcome. And the wonderful host, Audrey. I mean, you're perfect. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. It's been such an honor for us, and I appreciate so much the time that you have taken to talk to us and tell us this story. So thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you so
Thank
I
you
hope
very
to
much.
see. I hope to read
Thank you,
your
Leslie.
book so soon, very soon.
Well, let's hope so, yes? Let's
Come
hope
to
to
London.
blow this thing away.
Thank you,
care.
Leslie.
Londres.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Leslie.
Take care, darling. Bye.
You too. Bye now. Bom, meninos, eu acho que
Ah,
é
isso
isso.
aí.
Essa live ficou hoje comprida. Meu Jesus amado, tava até com vergonha. Porque eu falei pro Leslie que a live ia ser de 1 hora. Gente de Deus, olha só.
Não, mas
Quanto
fica
tempo deu?
3 minutos.
Então, começou às 17? Não,
Começou
16,
às
16.
Não, começou às 16 para vocês, né? Pra gente aqui às 8, agora já são quase 10.
A gente
o
nem
Leslie
sentiu.
já deve estar com a barriga roncando, porque ele ainda não jantou.
Aqui no
Audrey,
caso,
fala
ainda
só.
bem que, ainda
Tu tava
bem que eu
falando
almocei
ali pra
tarde.
encerrar. Tu tava falando ali dos pescadores. Não sei se tu quer contar rapidinho a história do I Am The Walrus, do
Sim.
Ian Eggman.
Hubba.
Sim, então eu acho que essa parte foi usada na música, né? Porque eles falam, né? Ruba, ruba, everybody jump, everybody. E engraçado que na época que eu fui pro hotel, eu nem sabia, eu nem tinha visto ainda o documentário do Magical Mystery Tour, que saiu só agora, né? E naquela época aquilo já tinha me chamado a atenção, e eu até escrevi no meu blog, falei, gente, olha isso aqui, olha essa tampa de bueiro aqui atrás do hotel onde eles ficaram. Tenho certeza que isso daqui tem a ver com a I Am The Walrus. E agora, assistindo o documentário que eu assisti esses dias, porque eu queria saber mais do Leslie antes de entrevistá-lo e tal, aparece uma parte que eles estão no hotel, e aí chega o homem, que é o entregador de ovos do hotel, ele chega na vanzinha dele, que era pintada assim de verde, e estava escrito assim, Eggman, né, o homem dos ovos. E daí o cara do hotel, o recepcionista, chegou pro cara dos ovos e falou assim, mano, você não vai acreditar que coisa bizarra, os Beatles estão aqui no hotel, eles estão tudo lá fora tirando foto da sua van. Então, adivinha se não foi usado, né, o Eggman para música.
Com certeza.
Olha só que legal. Imagina se não. Então é isso.
Pô,
então
legal.
Isso. Legal?
Muito obrigado,
legal.
André. Obrigado, Audrey.
Eu aqui agradeço vocês.
Aqui,
semana que vem, exclusiva. Fala, André.
Fala, meus amigos, o que foi que aconteceu? O que foi que aconteceu é que semana que vem tem o Gilvan Moura aqui, né? É isso
e
mesmo.
Antes do Gilvan, no sábado tem quem?
No sábado nós temos o Malagoli, junto com o Gustavinho.
Opa! Boa! Isso aí tem muita história.
Sim, muita história. E no dia 13 nós temos Lilian Knapp, da dupla Leno e Lilian da Jovem Guarda.
Eita, essas lives estão ficando sensacional, bicho.
Não estão?
Ó, tem uma coisa que...
Breve, com o cara dos Fevers também.
Breve.
Não, eu quero.
E tem uma outra que a gente vai falar aqui, que a gente não quis falar, mas final do ano, dia 31 de janeiro, Paul McCartney.
31 de fevereiro.
Eu tava aqui pensando, mas peraí, o
Pode ser
Sandro não
31 de
falou
fevereiro.
nada pra mim, o Sandro não me falou nada do dia de dezembro.
É. Ó,
Tem
o
um
seguinte,
samba que é assim, ó. Sonhar não custa nada, não é, André?
que meu sonho é tão real. O cara já falou, you may say I'm a dreamer.
Aí você, Draymond.
O negócio é o seguinte, também tem o convite
19 não é 20.
19 não é 20.
O negócio é o seguinte, vamos ver aqui
Isso aí, yes.
se a gente consegue organizar aqui. Eu não sei se hoje ainda saiu uma live aqui, porque o Eduardo Sangi vai fazer uma live, eu não sei se pelo Facebook ou pelo Instagram dele, às 8 horas da noite.
Olha aí, ó.
Segunda-feira, convido todos vocês a acessar a página Galpão Music Bar, que foi um pessoal lá de Santa Luzia, uma cidade que fica aqui perto, aqui perto de Belo Horizonte, e onde eu e o Sangi vamos fazer o álbum branco inteiro.
Caramba. As lives do André são fantásticas com o Sangi.
Eu tenho uma pergunta. Posso te fazer?
Pode?
Number 9. Number 9.
Aí eu prefiro tocar Not Guilty, sabe?
Vai ficar 14 minutos number 9.
Peraí, eu tenho uma pergunta para vocês. Vocês preferiam ouvir Revolution 9 ou ficar olhando a capa do Two Virgins por meia hora?
Two Virgins, com certeza o pinto do John.
Sandro, você tá em rede nacional?
Não tem problema, todo mundo falaria isso. Todo mundo falaria isso.
Eu preferia estar vendo aquela embalagem que veio de papelão, que só tem a cara do John e da Yoko, assim. Aí assim eu passo bem, né? Aí eu fico até 5 horas.
Sim, eu esqueci de falar, o Leslie estava falando que nos anos 60 era censurado, então vinha assim com um X nas partes assim deles. Eu acho que eu preferia ouvir a Revolution 9. Eu preferia ouvir a Revolution 9.
Agora eu senti um clima do Gilvão. O Gilvão poderia estar nesse bate-papo final da live aqui. Mais arriado que ele.
Ia rolar os pancão proibido.
Essa saideira tá meio proibidão, né?
Inclusive esse disco aqui, isso aqui é pra ele, que ele vive, quando eu apareço com esse disco aqui, o The Early Beatles, ele vive falando assim, R$10 nele, tá? Não dá. Não dá, velho.
Vamos encerrar, Audrey, então? Fechou 2 horas agora?
Ah, não, fechou. Tá bom, só. Vamos pra piada. Mas, gente,
vamos botar um clipezinho, então, né? Do Leslie, né?
Vamos. Muito obrigada, André. Adoramos.
Obrigado a todos.
Você viu que ele se emocionou com a música?
Eu vi.
Aqui, vamos puxar... Ó, a Fernanda tá mandando uma mensagem aqui pra nós. Proibido menores de 18.
Bem ponteado, viu, Fernanda?
Vamos imaginar que é às 2 da manhã agora. Imagina uma live às 2 da manhã, que de merda não ia sair.
Nossa senhora, bom, pra mim seria às 4 da manhã, né? Então imagina.
Pior ainda.
Então, tá bom,
falando sério agora.
Não é nem, aqui,
falando sério.
Só para lembrar do tempo aqui, da sessão Corujão, né? O Cine Privé, né? Esse tipo de coisa.
Verdade.
Não sei o que é isso. Não tenho ideia do que é isso. Tá só um pouquinho. Tem uma mensagem no Tinder aqui pra mim, só um pouquinho. Então tá. Falando sério agora, sábado que vem, Marco Antônio, Malagoli e Gustavinho numa live em homenagem ao Marco Antônio, contando detalhes dos 4 Beatles que ele conheceu, com fotos, né, Audrey? E sim, ele vai contar mais detalhado, que a gente vai pegar no pé dele ali, da entrega do baixo que ele entregou pro Paul McCartney no backstage do Maracanã Stadium.
Legal. Eu tô até aprendendo agora com o Gustavinho e com o Malagoli, eu tô aprendendo como é que se fala. Até a próxima.
Isso aí parece o Paul.
Sim.
E domingo, Gilvan Moura. Vamos botar o Gilvan numa roda de foguete.
Ele vai adorar.
Não tem o que ele não saiba, então a gente vai ter um quiz surpresa aí.
Vai ser muito legal. Então a gente espera a participação de vocês novamente no final de semana que vem. E é isso.
Live dupla, né?
É live dupla, dobradinha de lives. Beijo, gente. Boa noite. Fiquem com Deus. E eu acho que o Sandro vai colocar algum videozinho, alguma coisinha aí pra gente terminar essa live. Até a próxima.